Brevard County and Space Coast homeowners seem to be getting fed up with the number of door-to-door salespeople and solicitors going around, but there's something you can do about it thanks to a state statute. I'm going to show you exactly what the prohibited activities are, how people should be going about getting permits for this activity, where you can report illegal or unpermitted activity, and who the most common offenders are. So it doesn't take a lot of research on the Nextdoor app or Ring or Facebook community groups to see that you have a lot of cable salespeople who are going around trying to get you to switch AT&T and Spectrum. You also have a lot of window companies coming around, roofers coming around, and then the most common culprit of this is obviously the solar salespeople. And even FPL, whether they're contracting with companies or whether it's actual FPL employees, they're trying to sell insurance. Utility companies are trying to sell insurance on water lines and weatherheads. But just briefly reading through some of the online comments, you can see that homeowners feel unsafe by this. They're annoyed with the interruption to their day. They're afraid of being scammed. And in spite of this, there is still just a huge number of door-to-door sales and solicitors going through the Space Coast and Brevard County. So if you don't live in a gated community, which helps curb a lot of this, what can you do about this activity? Before we hop into the statutes that's prohibiting this, I ran across this when we were researching some of the solar panel companies and their practices, and it's just a very interesting tool that Google has that you can go in and see how much sunlight your roof gets and how many solar panels you could squeeze onto there. I'm personally not a solar panel advocate. I think they are a tough product to get a ROI on, and when you need to sell your house, they can create tremendous issues that we address in another video I'll link for you. But nonetheless, I did just think this was a really cool tool that Google has where they show how much sunlight your house gets and how likely it might be to getting wind damaged, how many solar panels you could squeeze on there, and then roofers are using this tool as well to do roofing estimates. But that's just a sidebar. Going into the statute here, what we're looking at is Florida Statute 501.021. And right here, what they're doing is they're defining these door-to-door salesmen and solicitors as a home solicitation sale. And what that means is a sale, lease, or rental of consumer goods or services with a purchase price in excess of $25, which I think is just about everything you can buy today. This statute says that it's unlawful for any person to conduct any home solicitation sale as defined in this chapter 501, section 21, or to supervise excluded minors conducting such sales in the paragraph below in the state. And then here's the key point: without first obtaining a valid home solicitation sale permit as provided in this section. Now, there has been some dispute and confusion about, well, I live in the city of Melbourne, or I live in the city of Cape Canaveral, I live in the city of Cocoa or Rockledge. We have different rules. I'm in unincorporated Brevard County. I'm in Merritt Island. This is a state statute. This is a uniform provision that applies to the entire state of Florida. They have required that the local county governments and local city governments provide the opportunity for these permits to be obtained, and they've put some stipulations on the permits. But if you're going to go door to door and solicit sales in the state of Florida, you need to have this permit unless you have one of these qualified exemptions. So what are the exemptions? Bona fide agents, business representatives, or salespeople making calls or soliciting at the usual place of business. So of a customer, so this excludes homes, right? Solicitors or and when I say excludes homes, it means that they're saying you can go door to door if you're going to the normal business office for the product you're selling, where that customer resides. You can't go door to door to the house. Solicitors or salespersons making a business visit upon an invitation of the homeowner. They don't need a permit if you invite the person to come over. Telephone solicitors or agents making calls which involve transactions that are unsolicited by the consumer and consummated by telephone and without any other contact. So telephone sales, that's regulated by FTC, Federal Do Not Call List. So that doesn't apply here. Solicitors, salespersons, or agents conducting a sale, lease, or rental of consumer goods or services by sample, catalog, brochure, or future delivery. We're going to talk more about this in a minute and what that means. Minors are excluded from having to get a permit to solicit door-to-door, and sellers or representatives that are currently regulated as to the sale of goods and services by Chapters 475 or Chapter 497. Now, the reason I'm familiar with this rule is I'm a real estate broker, property manager, and mortgage broker. And Chapter 475 is the state statute that governs and places restrictions and guidelines on real estate activities. So real estate agents going door to door to talk about home sales are excluded from being required to have a permit. But what about Chapter 497? I'd never heard of Chapter 497. This is actually with regards to funeral and burial services and cremation. So, it just blows my mind. We don't participate in door-to-door solicitation. Again, customers don't really like that this day and age. But I've never seen somebody go door-to-door for burial or funeral or cremation services. But God forbid you're dealing with the death of a loved one. You get somebody showing up at your door trying to sell you funeral services. Can't see that as being a good business practice. Who else is excluded from having to have a permit? Salesperson, agents making calls, soliciting orders on behalf of a religious, charitable, scientific, educational, or veterans institution. So right now, Merritt Island High School sports teams are out there selling discount cards, educational, totally cool, charitable, like completely legal, don't need a permit for that. Obviously, scientific, you're going around for Indian River Lagoon trying to raise money, not a problem there. Religious and charitable, again, don't need permits for those activities. And then it goes on with some more details about what the state statute says is required on the application. I'm going to show you the application, where it's obtained, who's responsible for giving it in just a second. But I just wanted to point out, well, what if you don't get a permit and you just go around door to door anyways, you don't care? It says violation of any of the provisions is a misdemeanor of the first degree, punishable by the state penal code. And then any person who conducts or attempts to conduct without obtaining the permit, in their second offense, it's a felony of the third degree. Also, making a false or fictitious statement is a misdemeanor of the first degree, second offense, felony of third degree. So real penalties, real fines, real repercussions for failing to obtain the required permit. That permit right here on the clerk of the court and comptroller for Brevard County, Rachel Sadoff. You can see here there's a home solicitation permit application. It was revised in 2021. And it goes through here. It gives pretty detailed information about what's required, how to fill it out, how much it costs. You can see it's $75. You have to get fingerprinted. You have to get background checked. And you do get badged as well. They give the office locations if you want to go in and talk to someone in person and get more information about that. They give the badging office. This is what the application looks like. Pretty easy to fill out. It's a fillable PDF. It does need to be notarized, you can see. And if you want to get this form, it's really easy. Just go to their main website, come over to Forms, scroll down to Administration, and it's one of the first forms right here, home solicitation, sale permit information, home solicitor permit application. So very easy to access, not really any excuse for not getting that permit if that's going to be your business. If there's a violation, if you have someone who's harassing you, if you have someone who meets that criteria, where do you report that activity? You can call the clerk of court, but ultimately enforcement is going to fall under the office of the Attorney General, who is Ashley Moody in the state of Florida. Now, real quick, I want to go back to that one excluded group that does not need to have a permit in order to solicit door to door. And that was section 4 here. Solicitor, salesperson, or agents conducting a sale, lease, or rental of consumer goods. So sale of consumer goods by sample, catalog, or brochure for future delivery. So what does that mean by sample? Pretty obvious, right? I think Avon used to be door to door, cleaning products. So if you're handing out a sample that customers can see or touch before making a purchase, then you are excluded from being required to obtain a permit to sell door to door. By catalog, showcasing a range of products in a printed catalog, allowing customers to browse options and select items to purchase at a later date. Those types of door-to-door sales are also not required to have a permit in the state of Florida. By brochure, brochures provide detailed information about products and services, highlighting features, benefits, and pricing to encourage future sales, right? Brochure, catalog, very similar, but this is what the statute says. Also not required to have a permit. And, you can't bring along a catalog or a brochure and say, choose what you want, and then pick up that product and deliver it to the person on site. This is for future delivery. So this is a product that you can't carry around with you. You can't deliver on the spot. So in summary, it's a method of selling where customers can review products through samples, catalogs, brochures, and then place an order for delivery at a later time. Sigh. This is all our solar panel people, salesmen. This is a lot of our cable service salesmen and saleswomen as well. They are selling by catalog or brochure for a service at a future delivery. And so ultimately, while the vast majority of products and services are required to obtain a permit for door-to-door sales, the reason we see so much prevalence of this solar and cable service salespeople in our neighborhoods is ultimately it's just not prohibited. They're not required to have a permit. It seems like it's the Wild West, but there is a state statute to address, cut down, curb, and regulate a lot of door-to-door solicitation, but ultimately catalog, sample, real estate, funeral burial services, all excluded from having to obtain that permit. But hopefully, if you are getting harassed and hassled, or you do see someone coming to your door who is selling a product or a service above $25 that's not one of the excluded categories, and they do not have a permit and they're not badged, hopefully you can help report some of this and help make sure that people are at least following the state statute and getting badged, background checked, fingerprinted, and paying the fees required for that activity when necessary. We track all this information, of course, because we sell real estate here in the Space Coast and Brevard County, and our customers who are buying houses, they want to know what sort of neighborhood and what sort of activities they're moving into. So a broad variety of activities that we track. I'd love it if you would subscribe, and share this information. If you want to hear more about current events, real estate news, and all sorts of exciting things happening in the Space Coast, please follow along. I'm Don Harkins with Don Harkins Realty, and I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.